I'm here with Keegan Kuhn, one of the co-directors of Cowspiracy and What the Health. And I thought I'd take the opportunity to get a little more insight into the making of the films and to share some of that with the people watching today. So, Keegan, thank you.
Thank you.
For taking some time. I wanted to ask you, how long did it actually take you to put together this film? How many years was it in the making?
Yeah, so What the Health took about 2.5 years to make from start to completion. We thought we were going to do the film really fast. Kip Anderson and I, my co-director, we did Cowspiracy in 10 months, which was really, really short. So we thought, well, we'll be able to bust this out in a year. And it took us a lot longer because there's so much more information. There's so much more research that went into the film. And it's an even more detailed film than Cowspiracy. So it was about a year of shooting and a good year of editing nonstop, but close to 2 years of editing.
And speaking of editing, is there any part that you felt that it would be best to leave out of the film that you'd like to tell us about?
There's so much that we had to leave out of the film. We shot over 100 hours worth of footage and cut it down to a 90-minute film. There was an entire section we had that dealt more with racial injustice that exists in the food system, and that's a big subject that we just felt we couldn't really fit into the film to do it justice. I'm actually working on another film with John Lewis, the aka Badass Vegan, that's going to deal with that issue almost exclusively. But there's so much more information, and actually our website, whatthehealthfilm.com, is going to be a resource, and we're going to be able to be constantly updating information on things that we couldn't include in the film, and then extended information on what we did include in the film.
Thank you. And what do you think was the most challenging moment for you making the film?
The hardest part about making this film was definitely us filming in North Carolina. When we went to North Carolina and we saw families who are affected by living next to pig farms and living near this pollution, that was really, it put a real human face to the impacts of this industry. To see hundreds of thousands of fish floating to the surface of the water because they were suffocating from the pollution in the rivers there was, again, very disturbing, and it brought it very, very much home that this isn't an abstract issue, that human animals and non-human animals are dying and are suffering because of this industry, and that's a real motivator.
I can imagine it must be very difficult for when we're watching it on screen and actually being there. Must be two different things. So that brings me to my next question. You and Kip seem very calm when you're dealing with these sometimes very difficult situations. How do you stay calm? Because, have you ever thrown your camera at anyone?
Kip and I definitely, we try to stay calm. It's some of these interviews that we go into are very stressful or at very least extremely awkward. Kip's a really calm guy, so that helps a lot. He tends to keep his cool really well, especially in these interview situations. For me, because I'm behind the camera, I tend to kind of just shrink into the job that I'm doing and just focusing on what I'm there to do. But they're definitely stressful. They're definitely awkward, really uncomfortable. But really what it comes down to is we're creating films with a mission. We want to inform and educate people, and so that's what we always keep coming back to, is how do we get this information out to as many people as possible. And so we need to do whatever we can do to make it as effective as possible. And so staying calm, staying focused is what we always do.
A little bit of meditation.
Something like that.
So my surname's Fry, so the interview wouldn't be complete without asking you, what do you think of the future of plant-based meats?
I think plant-based meats changed the whole game. When people first hear about a plant-based diet or moving towards a vegan diet, they think they have to give up everything. They think it's going to be this totally new foreign diet. But the truth is that because of fries, people don't have to give up their lifestyle. They can continue to eat the same exact diet they've ever eaten, just change it to plant-based. And so they can exclude all of the cruelty, the unsustainable aspects of animal agriculture, and so many of the really horrible negative side effects on our health because of eating animal products, by eating plant-based meats. So I think they're phenomenal. I think they're absolute pivotal in a transition moving away from animal-based foods towards plant-based foods. Plant-based meats are the way to go.
That was a good answer. What's next for you and Kip or yourself?
Yeah, so I have a new film that I'm working on called Running for Good, which is following incredible 3-time world record marathon runner Fiona Oakes, and that's a film that I'm in production right now. Kip Anderson is working on another feature film as well, and he tends to keep things really under wraps while he's working on them, so I can't really mention much more right now, but that's an exciting film. His nonprofit, AUM Films, that produce What the Health and Cowspiracy, is producing a number of incredible documentaries that are coming out, so I really recommend people to check out aumfilms.org. Or go to the whatthehealthfilm.com website and the cowspiracy.com website to stay up to date with everything that we're working on.
Well, that's incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have another interview with Kip soon.
Sweet.
Have you, just to finish off, have you got any message for vegan advocates that are out there fighting the fight? Have you got anything that you'd like to say to them?
Yeah, it can be really frustrating advocating for veganism because we're in a non-vegan world. I think it's important to be compassionate with other people, and to remember that everyone's on a path, and to remember that most of us weren't born this way. Someone had to take the time and energy to educate us, and so that to be patient and compassionate, but to be compassionate with ourselves as well. That it can be frustrating, it can be draining, and to give yourself a break and to be kind always. If you're having a hard time getting into it, and sometimes it's hard for people to find their voice, is to look at what you're good at, look at what makes you feel good, what really inspires you, and do that, and make that your activism. But to never forget that this is much bigger than us. This is much bigger than us as individuals. This is about the planet. This is about the individuals who are suffering in this industry, and all of the human beings who are suffering because of this industry. And that's where I bring my motivation, as I think of the victims, and I always think, what would I want someone to do for me if I was in their place? And so that's what keeps me going, and that's where I really draw inspiration.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.